Welcome back. My name is Vance Martin. I am the Campus Accessibility Specialist at the University of Illinois Springfield. Last week I answered some questions on accessibility. This week I've been asked to answer a few questions about universal design for learning. So the first question I have been asked is, why is it important to think about universal design principles in this transition time? I think it's an unfair question because I think universal design should always be considered. However, I recognize that a lot of faculty are being thrown into situations where this may be the first time that they have thought about it or have to think about it. So really briefly on universal design, what is it? The idea of universal design is that we are designing something typically for somebody who has some form of a disability. However, that which we have designed is usable by everybody and makes life a whole lot easier. The idea was coined in the late 60s, early 70s, and I think that the idea that we could probably latch onto the most is ramps going into buildings. So initially these were developed for people in wheelchairs. However, I can attest, having small children, that you can use those with strollers. You could use those with walkers. You could use those when it's icy out. And it's something that everybody can use. It doesn't adversely affect those who really want to use stairs. It's something that everybody can benefit from. Probably a more recent example when it comes to learning and accessibility is captions. So captions are something that we discussed last week, required by law if we're doing a video, as these videos are captioned. And while it may be necessary for only a small percentage of the population, recent studies have suggested that while less than 10% of our students probably actually need captions, about 85% of our students are using captions. And I can say that it's one of those things that students who don't need them are just using them while they're watching their phone with a video with captions on. Or in fact, one of my student workers recently complained because she has a second job where she's allowed to do quiet homework. She's allowed to watch videos if they're captioned but not listen to sound. And one of her classes did not have captions. And considering she does this for probably 8 hours of captioning for her a week, she was less than happy that had not been provided within her class. So thinking about how to design a course and integrate content into the course for multiple representations also. So there's lots of interesting research and articles out there on learning styles and how people think they learn. I won't get into, whether it's valid, whether it's not. I have friends in both camps there. But I will say that at least people feel that they have a perceived learning style. People will tell you that, oh, I only learn well by listening. I only learn well by reading. I only learn well by watching or doing, or some combination of these things. Whether or not they are accurate or it is true doesn't matter if that's what they believe. And so attempting to give various ways and representations of information to our students, to our learners, uh, can help those various students within our classes. So representing the information in several ways, um, different ways of getting back the understanding, different ways of engaging with the students. So sometimes it may include redundancy of sorts. We can get that redundancy. So if we think about a video, the video can be watched with the sound. It can be listened to just with the sound. It can be watched with the captions, or since we also have to provide a transcript, the transcript can be read. To a great extent, I think that you could probably get everything out of this video by reading the transcript and what I have to say. So that gives a student different ways to receive that information. Um, Similarly, if you have a PowerPoint, perhaps writing up the content that was in the PowerPoint in a lecture, even though it might be almost all of the same information, might be more valuable for those certain students in your class. Similarly, thinking about how we can adjust some of our assignments, giving students the option to choose different types of projects that will still achieve the same learning goals that you had when you developed the course. However, it can be represented in different ways, perhaps which reflect their learning style, which reflect their ability, or even given this remote teaching and learning, may reflect their current circumstances at home, that they may not have access to libraries or certain information, or the ability to put it in the initial format that you had envisioned when you planned your course back in December or September of last year. So I think that if we think about how we can uh, alter to different types of learning styles, uh, ability needs, and accommodations in this time of struggle for not just, like I said last week, the 25% of students who have some form of a disability, but those 75% of our students who feel that they have some specific way that they learn best, which could be why they initially took your on-campus class, which has now moved to a remote mode.